All right, Chris, we should be live. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Nice. All right. So, what's going on?
Hey guys, this is episode 70. I mean, if you're just tuning in, you're like, who are these guys? Well, I'm Chris. This is Ryan.
Hello.
We are the VR Grid, but today we are the Virtual Boys podcast. Thanks for joining us, guys. Ryan's on location.
Again, yes, I'm
If you
back in
can't,
these camps, so here I am.
yeah,
Yay.
yep. That's just the way it is between the two of us. One of us is often out of town from time to time, but we're still that cannot stop us from the conversation. So again, welcome. Hit that like button if you're just joining us, guys. Please, it really helps out the channel, the algorithm, all that jazz. Subscribe if you haven't already. And again, if you want to support the channel, something we never mention is we have a Patreon. It's a cheap little Patreon if you want to help us out. It's like $2 a tier for each month, and that really helps us kind of keep things going. And because we buy games we don't like to have to review them, and there's a lot coming with PSVR 2. We're going to be rebuying a lot of games, I think. So hopefully that's not the case, but we're trying to cover everything we possibly can um, on the launch window and moving forward. So we're really going to try to flex the fact that there's two of us.
And guys, just let us know too in chat how the audio levels are. It sounds okay to me pre-link game, but like I'm using different equipment on a different computer and everything else. So if you notice anything too crazy, please let us know, and I will try and fix it as best I can.
Hookster says he's here for Ryan's weekly rant. I thought I was the rantier of the two of us, to be honest.
I think last time I went off pretty good.
Did you?
Well, I listened to the episode.
I guess I'm just used to your rotten ass attitude.
Maybe.
um. Anyways, guys, audio sounds solid. Thank you, Triangulator. That's what we're looking
Woo!
for. We
Hey,
wanted to
Chris.
hear from everybody but Todd.
Yeah, Todd has no valid opinions in chat. So, Chris, you been playing anything?
Well, I tell you what, I tried to play today was Walkabout Mini Golf. Brought a new map. The Atlantis map came out today. In addition to a game update that I'm a little confused. My understanding was that hang on. Well, before I think of it, I'm gonna turn off my space heater here. My understanding was that there was going to be a graphic update in addition to that to kind of just with enhancements that the game has had going along here. Now I wasn't sure what headset was getting that, if it was just PC, but now I'm hearing it's just the Quest Pro, so I have no idea. But the reason I say that I tried to play the game is I don't know if anyone else in chat on PC, Oculus PC, has tried to play the new map or the game today, but mine's completely messed up now. Like I jump in there and I'm getting some weird head movements in the map, and I only have one controller and it's flipped the other way, so it's unplayable
Unplayable,
since the
eh?
patch. So not sure what's going on with that, but that really sucks. So yeah, see three VR chat channel. See the VR chat channel, that would be Jason. Jason is the one who told me 33% boost to all of them. And if anyone was going to know, it would be Jason because he's an ambassador for Coconut. What is it? Mighty Coconut. And so he would know. So good. Um, Jason, you can answer in chat then, and then we'll move on here. If in fact there has been problems to the update, so please let me know, because I hope it's not just me. What else have I? That's kind of all I've actually been playing this last week for VR. I hate to admit that. There
No,
really hasn't.
I'm not doing
You've
too
been
much.
busier than I have.
I'm still dabbling in Primal Hunt, trying to do like a hunt a day kind of thing just to get through the game. Like the problem is it's getting quite hard now, and like said in the review, like if you die, you have to restart the whole hunt over. So I lose like a half an hour of progress when I die if this thing kills me, and it kind of kills my drive to like try it again because it's a lot more stealth now, a lot more having to like play smarter than just like not to say you can ever run and gun with a bow and arrow, but it's definitely more like hunty now, I guess, in regards to stalking your prey and making sure you're hidden from all the predators that are around you. And there's always predators around you now. Like it's not just your prey, but you have to make sure you're avoiding raptors or compies or anything else that might try to kill you. So it's getting to be quite challenging. It's fun, it's challenging, but the death system just kills it for me. The fact that if I die once, even by like just a stupid hit or didn't see something, boom, like you have to restart the whole stage. No, there's no continue system in place other than that. So it's been a little bit punishing that way. And obviously, I guess if you guys stay tuned to the channel, I guess most of you guys didn't watch the review, but I did play Silhouette for the Quest 2 headsets, and I thought it was a really cool puzzler. It uses hand tracking, but you have to make like puzzles like it uses your light like shadows on the walls to make like these little shadow creatures like help them through their little shadow world. I don't know. It's hard to describe right
It
now.
did look cool though. Like you had like block. I saw you like you blocked the water and it like removed a shadow so that something could go across. And obviously the neatest thing you did was like with the finger gun. I think it's a game that is for puzzle fans. Looks really. It's genuinely unique and it looks fairly polished. I think the problem they're gonna have is trying to communicate to people that they need to like that for puzzle fans that this is something they should look at. It's not a flashy title either,
No,
so
it's not. It definitely feels. I said
it could be a grower.
it looks like. I mean, I said other than the lighting effects that are in there, it looks like a Gear VR game. So it's not like exactly like gonna blow your mind that way, but it's fun. I liked it. It's the best use of hand tracking. I still had problems with the hand tracking. I think that's just not perfect tech with the Quest 2. So there's just some finickiness with your, you put your finger out and it decides not to register that, so then things don't work properly. It doesn't really matter. It's a cheap $10 game. If you guys do like puzzlers, Silhouette is pretty slick. And that's about it. I've been doing lots of other behind the scenes stuff that you guys don't care about. So yeah,
They will care about it. It's all PSVR.
I suppose you will care. You'll care about it come February 21st, hopefully. I guess so. The
Yeah,
hustle's real over here, guys. The hustle is real.
seriously, guys, I've been slacking, and Ryan's been putting in some real time with networking because there's a lot of games coming out, and a lot like this kind of touching back on what I was mentioning around the Patreon thing is there's like so many games coming out in that launch month that we want to cover all of them, and it's kind of like Ryan and I were like, oh my god, like if they're not free upgrades, if they're all games that are coming from Quest or they're new games, it's just a lot of games at once, and we want to cover all of them. So
Dude, there's
it's
places.
either if we can't get codes from devs, if we can't get ahead of this like Ryan's been doing, then it comes out of our pocket, and that's gonna get pricey quick.
40 like right now I've got 47 games on sorry 46 games because Dark Pictures got delayed. So as of right now I have 46 games until other delays keep coming in. But like, how do you cover 46 games in like a day, 2 days, 3 days, 5 days? Like how what's acceptable? Because it's insane, especially when you factor in some of these things are 8, 10, and 12. Like they're bigger games, man. Like that's no joke. So yeah, so PlayStation VR 2, guys. I don't know if you guys know this, but it's coming, and we're gonna do our damnedest to cover it.
What?
Yeah, surprise.
When's that coming out? What?
I thought it was February 22nd, but everyone keeps saying February 21st now. So I'm not sure. Like all the.
I thought it was the 22nd, but we could
Right?
be wrong with that.
I don't
Well,
think
what
I'm
you're
wrong
looking,
though.
wait, are you looking that up now or no?
I know
I
it's
mean,
22nd, but I'm not sure if they're just like all the release dates in the stores are like the February 21st. I'm not sure. It's just weird. Doesn't matter.
Back to Primal Hunt quickly, and then we'll move on with things. I actually did play a bit of Primal Hunt on PC.
Oh,
I
good
played
for
the
you.
Oculus version, right? We were talking about that.
Yep.
It looks a little cleaner, and that's about it. Like it really didn't. I don't even see a lot of lighting updates. Like it really looks like it's almost the same version, which is
There's a
probably
little
why
bit.
it just really didn't get.
They put
It looks a
textures
little
and stuff
clean.
in there, but they said they're going to work on
Really?
they're working on a big they're working on a big. If you look at the ground, you can see there's actually like textures on there.
Oh, is that considered more texture than the Quest version? Damn.
Yeah, but that being
Okay,
said, they said
wow.
that they're planning on doing a big PC overhaul. They just basically had to dumb it down to the Quest, and then basically that's just kind of what was left over. And now they're gonna try and beef it back up on the PC side of things.
Now, the review on the channel, guys, it might be my sweet, sexy voice, but that was actually Ryan who played the game on the Quest. And I'll tell you, Ryan, and we haven't talked about this, but
Oh,
I played through the first the tutorial on the first mission on Primal, and I'm gonna tell you the graphics really killing it for me. It's killing it. It is so polished. Like the AI is a little stupid. I think you were overly kind to the AI. I'd say it's borderline retarded.
well,
It's
you're also
not,
in the first like level, so
but they're very definitely following like roots, which is not too bad because Horizon did the same thing. Obviously, like some of the like it was part of the gameplay was that you could predict their paths.
Hmm.
But I still like I get they do seem to kind of like bump and jank a bit too much for my taste. But mainly it was just that the world itself was so
Baron.
unimpressive to be
Yeah.
inside that it was like my brain was so bored with the visuals, I was having a hard time
Look, I said as
get
much. I said like the
I you
fog
you
and
did.
like the open paths and everything that gets flat. Like
You were fair to it. You were fair to it, and it is very polished. But I'm just saying, for the as more commenting on the PC version, if anyone's hoping that like that's going to be a savior on the visual side, it isn't, and that's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate. But I don't know. That's pretty much been the extent of my VR gaming. The calm before the storm.
well, in that case, Chris, are you going to buy yourself a Quest Pro or an HTC Elite XR headset or Apple's headset or any of the headsets coming out this year besides PSVR 2? No, you're not. Why? Because it's too damn expensive.
Yeah, I feel like as far as like VR influencers go, I feel like we're on the outs because a lot of
I
these
will
guys,
not call
they
myself an
will spend
influencer.
money
I
for
can't
this.
believe you just used the term influencer to describe us. I refuse to. No, no, no. Idiots. I'll take idiots. I will not take influencer.
Okay, but I would say that there's definitely some pressure out there. I think for VR channels, especially if they're not pigeonholing themselves into like just a PSVR or something to buy the headsets. Speaking of VR influencer, hey GT, thanks for joining us, man.
The man
Um,
who never sleeps.
Yeah, well, GT, if you're in here, actually, it's good timing for you to jump in here because you've probably tried a few of these headsets that we refuse to buy. You know the answer to that, Ryan. The answer is no. He doesn't sleep. Um, but anyways, yeah, you do look younger with that haircut. Now that GT mentions it,
Do I? It looks a
uh,
little too short, but it grows back, which is nice.
that's what hair does. Uh, anyways, well, I mean the best example would be the Quest Pro. When it came out, we talked about that. I almost pulled the trigger on it. I had it in the basket, and I was like, no, I can't do it. I can't. I can't buy. Like, I want to try it. It's the new tech. I want to see. I wanted to play with some eye tracking, some augmented reality. But I'm like, no. Like, it's like $2,300, and for not a big upgrade from the Quest 2, and still with issues like crap battery life, you know, not very comfortable. Something which I was talking to someone yesterday, and they were just echoing the same statements. Yeah, that it sucks. It's not comfortable. I'm not paying $2,300 for that
No,
now. But these become the questions, right?
I'll pay.
Like
I'm paying almost $1,000 for PlayStation VR 2, but
Canadian,
yeah, but still,
yeah.
no, it's
Um,
lofty. I mean, even with the PSVR 2, even though that's cheaper and doesn't include the price of the PS5, like it's it does beg the question: is VR getting too expensive? And I know you can I've made the argument that PSVR 2 is technically cheaper than the PSVR 1 once you factor in inflation and what you get in the box. It still doesn't change how much things cost today and what people are making today. Obviously, the current economy isn't exactly dynamite. So when you factor in not only the push for PSVR 2 being like the cheapest of, I guess, the next elite ones, but the fact that all these other headset makers seem to be pushing out more expensive headsets, like even the rumors around Valve's new headset make it sound like it's going to be super expensive, and it's just kind of like who is buying this and how is the VR market going to flourish when no one can afford to buy these things?
I mean, that is the tough spot, right? I mean, it's always been like when
Hmm.
we
Oh yeah.
ever since we started to care about VR, it's been the same barriers to entry, really. It's been like the cable, price, comfort, software,
Hmm.
basically. I mean,
Yep.
obviously then expectations when it becomes, like resolution and stuff like that. And expectations I think is always going to be like the one big problem, and it's also going to be wildly different depending on who you're talking to. But price is a huge barrier to entry, especially um, on an item that is incredibly hard to properly demonstrate to somebody until you can get it on their heads.
Yeah.
And and that has been one of the key problems that especially Sony, I would say, being the first headset to really try to go after the masses, or have a shot at the masses because of its price point. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but you're right though. There's like, I mean, I feel like we have weirdly, I would say, 3 markets of VR users. You've got kind of your low-hanging fruit, which would be like your the mass consumer market. Like, that's what Quest and PSVR, I think, you can put a number after any of those, but I would say the Quest and the PSVR, they've been going after that. Then you've kind of got your VR enthusiast slash professional market, and I would say a lot of these $2,000 headsets or anything over 1,000 is kind of aimed at those group of people. Um, and professionals being like, say, like what the Quest Pro is going after, like businesses who would buy one to put in so people could like say, so could like have virtual meetings and what or whatever, or if they're using it for if they are starting to get into some of the augmented reality for design stuff or whatever. Then there's the third tier, which is like the super high end crap, right? Like the stuff that's like the stuff that Varo's doing, like the really high end stuff
Yeah.
that's like a lot of people don't even understand how far VR is because it's sort of our price range. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
above 3,000.
No,
But
and and it's not even when you talk about the Quest, the Quest 2 got that price bump last year, right? Went from what 4 to 500 or 3 to 400, whatever the American conversion of that is, and everyone was just crying foul, right? Because how dare Meta increase the price of that thing? And on the same token, how much do people pay for cell phones? I know it's kind of a typical kind of argument in regards to this stuff, but like a Samsung Galaxy, an iPhone, any of the kind of top tier phones costs way over $1,000, and we're replacing those things every year or two. So comparatively speaking, VR in some cases is still relatively cheap, but as a gaming tool, especially, well, coming back to the Quest 2, as far as its limitations of what it can or can't do, you know, it's still $400 for what might not be the most immersive experience to get to. So like bare bones getting into VR at the ground up now, I guess it would be the Quest 2, unless you go like back further than that and try to get like a Go and see how that works out for you. But realistically, a Quest 2 is like that's your entry point. You can't get any lower in the market than a Quest 2 or I guess a Pico. And I haven't had any experience with the Pico, so I can't say other than that is comparative to the Quest from what I've heard, a Quest 2. So minimum, just to taste VR now in 2023, it's $400 US, which is like $550, $600 Canadian, however the hell that works out. And it's just it is that like that's the minimum, and the next step up is PlayStation, which is a dramatic leap when you factor in the fact you need a PS5 as well, right? Like there's no in between. It's Quest 2 then PlayStation. And that's like I said, GT just said in chat with the PSVR 2 and a PS5 disc edition is $1,200. Like that's a huge leap, and people cry foul, obviously. And is it like that? That's the question. Like, is this just too expensive? Like, is this just like an elite hobby? Like, is this just not for the average consumer? It's kind of where
well,
it feels like at
really,
times.
it's a tough one because like what GT's doing is basically assuming that someone's looking like, I want to get into VR. I own nothing. I could get a Quest 2 for X number of dollars. Again, it's like American, Canadian, euros. I don't
I
know what
know it's so
GT,
tough.
where he's getting, is that American? I don't know.
You all know your own prices. You know what we're talking
Right?
about.
Exactly. So, but I guess the point of it is simply what GT's saying there is, and that is for some people where they're at. They're looking at it either like, I want to get into VR. I really want to get into VR. And it's assuming they don't have a PS5. Now, for me, like when the PSVR came out, I had a PS4. I was a Sony fanboy. Well, actually, that's not true. I was coming off a 360,
I
but
did not.
I loved my PS4. Did you buy a PS4 to get a PSVR?
I bought a PS4 Pro. I borrowed my brother-in-law's PS4 until the Pro came out. Like what, a month later?
Because you were an
Or
Xbox guy, weren't you?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
So I
didn't
was a
give a shit
three.
about Sony.
Like I had the 360 because the PS3 I thought was garbage, but I was a huge PS1, PS2 guy, so I was definitely still probably call myself a Sony fanboy. But regardless, I had the hardware, So when a headset came out, that's all I had to really worry about.
Hmm.
But I mean, it's tough though because it's like if you're looking at it from like, okay, I got a Quest or I got a PSVR 2. Um, it's so tough to say that they're apples and apples though.
They're
I
not. And that's also another problem I have with the industry as it currently stands. I mean,
but I yeah okay, but I feel like um once Sony hopefully properly um separates them distances themselves from questy games and starts to try to I think they really need to push hard to bring higher quality titles, not just in gameplay experiences but visually to the PSVR 2. Hopefully we can start to see the mobile VR market treated like Game Boy.
I mean that
Really.
I agree. I totally back that statement 100%. I think there's it's weird that we're in a position now where, like I said, we're comparing these headsets like they're the same thing. Like a Quest 2 and a PSVR are in the same league, and they're not by any stretch. But because of the market, like, if you go through the PSVR 2 launch lineup, how many of those games are currently Quest games, or even even ports of PSVR 1 games, but just Quest games. 2MD After the Fall, Alter Breaker, I believe, is a Quest game. I can't remember offhand. Cave Digger 2, Cities VR, Cosmonia's High. I'm literally going through this list in alphabetical order without skipping games. Like, so Demio, Drums Rock, like so many of these games are Quest games, and I'm not saying that's not Sony's fault, but it does cloud those lines where the next generation of a PSVR 2 headset, the reason why you're paying all the extra money, it doesn't really look like that. Like, when you look at it from a distance, like, obviously we get the Horizon, we get the Dark Picture Switchback. I said that right. Oh my god, I can't believe that. And we get the improvements upon those Quest games I mentioned. Some games are getting dramatic improvements like Star Wars, others less so, like Job Simulator, where it's just more of a haptics thing. But it doesn't really change the fact that we're people like us. We both pre-ordered our system. Like, we are pre-ordering like what largely seems like a Quest emulator at times. Only it increases the resolution. It's like it's an emulator that like jacks up the frame rate or something like that, and it can definitely feel like that some ways. Like, I mean, there's only like I think there's like 4 or 5 titles that have never been released before coming to the PlayStation headset at launch ish. Like 5. Every other game on this list has been released on PSVR 1 or Quest or PC at some point in time. It's weird. It's Quest has done amazing things for VR as far as bring it together, but we're seeing this now where it's just like we're just getting more of the same, and it makes it harder to justify that cost. And
Well, we've
go
been talking
go
about
go.
this since the beginning of the PSVR 2 conversation, before we even started to see the titles, and basically what we were worried about happening is happening. And I don't mean this as a negative. It's really not. I mean, there's like again, like I don't want to be a hype kill because that's really not the case. I feel that like for people who only had a PSVR and have been just waiting for their time, and didn't have a Quest or haven't had a PC, the amount of quality VR, like there's some great Quest titles that are
Oh
coming.
yeah.
This conversation is much more, I think, like you said, around that. Going back to what GT said around the price point of like trying to get away from that comparison of Quest is this price and it's all I can play VR, I don't need anything else versus the PSVR and 2 and requiring a PS5. Now, I mean, a lot of people will say, okay, you got a Quest 2, you know, as soon as you can play some games, but if you want the good stuff, you get a PC. So there, those are those inevitable conversations. And so it's like you said, it's very hard to start drawing like lines in the sand of like what category is what. So it's almost like what's entry level VR cost you. I think that one of the things that has irritated me, and this is probably a hot take, is obviously none of us like spending more money. It's like, like I work hard for my money. Every dollar is
He works
valuable.
hard for his money.
You had to. And he's gonna treat you right. But it's like, and I'm not trying to be like, and it's not like I have tons of money and that like money has no value. That's not the case, but I'm like, if I try to take a step back and look at like what it's doing for setting, you know, false expectations, or and we've talked about this before. I'm very concerned how Meta, when the way they subsidize that Quest in the very beginning, and to a certain extent the way Sony also subsidized the PSVR one, and probably the PSVR two, to be honest, to a certain degree. But just looking at Meta and how they were openly subsidizing a Quest to be bringing it around that 299 point, like significantly, which is one of the reasons they've raised the prices because they just couldn't keep doing it.
Hmm.
Is they set this like false expectation of what VR should be cost to get into.
Yeah,
Now
I mean,
they did
we
that.
knew
They
there was
did
that.
that. They did that for the exact problem we're talking about, is trying to get rid of that barrier to entry, and still people push back
Yeah, I mean,
against
for those that
for
don't know, Chris
300
didn't say it, but yeah, the Quest that was estimated to be selling to be losing between $50 and $100 per headset sold, just so they could undercut everyone else in the market. And they had to increase the price for two reasons. Like you said, they're already undercutting themselves, and because their most popular apps on the Quest were all free apps, so they weren't making as much money as they thought they would be, because all the kids are just playing all the free shit. So yeah, so it does, like I said, it does set that bar, and even I don't want to get too much into software as yet either, but there's also the conversation of this should be free, this should be free, this should be free, where people expect games nowadays to be freemium, and it's also affecting things because now there's like this. There's so many different conversations to happen around like the cost of a headset and what you get out of it. I'm losing focus here. It's talk.
But my but going back to my original point, was that I feel like Meta coming out and saying this is what you could get for $300 in a headset has like ruined it. It's like a race to the bottom. And I've heard that it's a problem that we've seen in the mobile market, like with games.
Have you played Grid Legends?
Yeah. Okay. Let's not get there. We will get there. Well, because I want to talk about pricing of games, but not yet. But I'm just saying, it is what we don't want is a race to the bottom for hardware, because it's not sustainable. Which is why you saw Meta um, raising their prices, and I saw that, and people are like, oh, that's you know unprecedented for like later in a lifespan. It's like, yeah, but like they were taking it up the ass for like years. And because the Quest 1 was also subsidized, and it's like they can only do that for so long, and then eventually people just have to realize what thing costs, and that's the problem. And and so we're in this weird place right now where people look at a PSVR 2 and they're like, man, it's so expensive. And it's like, but it's the cheapest headset in its class. um Nothing comes close to that, not really.
No,
um I mean, for what I mean, because you just to really start to compare apples to apples, you have to look at PC headsets, and that's a really tough thing to tell people, right? um and I guess like, I think really what Sony can't get away from, and it's the biggest point of this conversation, I think it's critical, is software. Sony has to make it so that it's a no-brainer why you would choose to buy a PS5 and a PSVR 2 instead of a Quest. Like, they have to be that logical extension, that people would make when they used to play a PSVR or play a Quest and go, I want to get a PC. I'd
right.
really love to get a PC. They need to be the people go, well, I'll just get a PS5 then. I want to play the high end VR stuff.
And now the problem with that, right off the hop, is the fact that this is something I want to bring up, is that we as VR consumers are also used to very cheap games. I mean, the average, if you average out the average cost of like a decent VR game, not just some like crap that someone shit out on Steam, it's what, $25 as the average price, $20. Like, the average price of a VR game is so small, and if anything's over $30, I mean, the brakes are on for like I'll wait until review. I'm not touching $30. That's way too much for a 5-hour game for 30. No, 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 no. And we're in this weird place now where like Horizon. Everyone, like, Horizon is we've heard an 8 to 10 hour game. and that is $60 US. So is that fine? And to expand upon that, I mean, Gran Turismo was not just on sale, but Gran Turismo is a regular what $90 game or $80 game in US. And as we get these bigger and bigger games, Resident Evil, I guess, is discounted now. But assuming that things continue the way they should, and we start seeing bigger, more AAA VR games, like there's also the idea of like the VR market not paying. Like I'm not $60 for that, $80 for that. We don't see $80 games or $60 games. It just doesn't exist in the VR market. Like it just
Are
doesn't
you
happen.
going down the game category
Well, you
already?
started it. You said software. You started this whole conversation.
Well, I was talking about software, more not the price point, but more of on a quality standpoint, like
Well,
it
I'm
being
mixing both of those into there because
all right.
the quality costs money, and that's another thing. Is it's this twofold thing now where the argument was like once you get a headset, the games are cheap, and that's still true now. The games are still cheap, but that's because the games are also cheap most of the time in regards to development costs and everything else. So when you factor in the fact that the games are also be more expensive, like I said, there's different sides to this thing. On the same token, how many PSVR 2 games are currently free upgrades at launch or cheap upgrades at launch? So there is like a cost effectiveness there as far as the PSVR 2 goes. Like there's a lot of sides to this coin, but I can't help but think like I'm really waiting. Like I said, Horizon I don't count, but like the next whatever game comes out that's a full price. We still don't have a full price VR game. Horizon's as close as we get, and I guess Gran Turismo.
Well, Res 8.
Res 8's
I
a
mean, these
regular.
games are, but they're full price games, so they're not on sale.
Are
GT,
they now?
yeah, yeah,
GT7
yeah.
is Res 8 still?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
These
he
are still full
says.
price games unless you catch them on sale. I mean, they definitely are. Um, I'm just saying that the price of the games becomes less of an issue if they're games that people I guess see aren't and are expecting to be full price games. Like Resident Evil 8 comes out, it's a full price game. People are like, okay, it's Resident Evil 8, it's a full price game. I
It
think
says
that's like
$40, and it doesn't say anything about a sale.
I doubt that. But like
Call
for
me a
example,
liar, Chris?
yeah. So Resident Evil 7 when it came out, no one complained about it being a full price game.
Right.
They were just all in,
Oh,
pumped.
100%. I agree 100%.
Right? That became where we get into a bigger
That was
problem,
many moons ago, Chris. Many moons ago.
but it's still a relevant example though. Like if it's a game that is like not even able to be argued that it is a AAA game and it's the full experience and it's coming in VR and the compromises are not like too much, then people won't even question it. But Space is saying there really is a $40 game now. Look at that's weird.
Yeah,
Why would they?
shut your mouth.
That's
Shut
weird that
up.
they. I'm surprised that they would just cut the price down there. Capcom leaving money on the table though. But yeah, I mean, I think that back to the hardware thing, I think that Sony is probably making a bit of money on that price, but not a lot. And I think that I feel like I'm not surprised about the price
Of
and
price of what? The headset?
of the PSVR 2.
Yeah.
Sony's it's just like I don't know. It's just what's your market? I mean, because your PC crowd won't they're not going to blink at it, but then they're also going to be complaining too because they don't want to have to buy a PS5 because they've already got their PC. It's
Hmm.
they're in a weird place, and I feel like Sony. It's not like the PSVR, you know. Like with the PSVR, there was not really anyone below them. It was like this is your entry point. The the VR that didn't count. The Gear VR and the Go like that didn't count. That wasn't real VR. That wasn't gaming VR. It's like they have to deal with the fact that there's a
I'll
Quest.
defend him, but yeah, I agree.
No, you won't. But there's like the fact is they can't ignore the fact that there's a Quest 2 there, and they can't just be a competitor for the Quest 2. They can't. They need to be a different level of offering because they're asking for a different level of pricing,
Right.
and that's our biggest concern, right? I think right now is with the launch lineup is that right now there's not enough quality, let's call it, I hate the term, but AAA games, games you can't get, that you can't play on the Quest in some shape or form, to make people just go, oh, it's a no-brainer. Gotta buy that. Gotta buy a PS5. Now, the
Yeah,
truth of it is, a lot of people own a PS5. They do, but
20
then
million people do, I guess.
you still got the same problem of how do you convert 20 million people into buying a $600 to $800 where you live peripheral to
Yeah.
play VR games that you may not have properly experienced. It's this tough situation, but I mean, I think, and moving into software a little bit, ultimately it comes down to this. I don't even want to go into that yet. I don't even come down to that. Somebody brought it up in chat though, and they were definitely where I was at right now, as far as my thoughts around game prices of games. But sticking on the hardware front, I've made this comment before. I think Sony's really someone's got to be the first to jump into a subscription model, like a plan, a hardware plan.
I mean,
And
I
and
mean, I
G,
mean, I
G,
mean,
G, GT echoed a statement that I have mentioned in many videos before, is that, and this is something that I've seen pushback on. I think that there's a little bit of people don't have necessarily a grasp of like reality, or it's a little bit of entitlement, or it's just a little bit of the situation they're in. But this idea that like 7 years, like since 2016, um, yeah, almost 7 years, for between the PSVR 1 and 2, like we can't do that. Just like we can't go full console generations anymore. Like we're closer to a PS5 Pro than we are into the PS5 generation, if you know what I mean.
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if next fall they're also hearing about, or at least, or even getting close, starting to
Well, I
talk
mean, I'm already.
PS5 Pro.
If you can dig it on, there's articles popping up now about PS5 Pros, and they're few and far between, and they're from not the most reputable sources, but it's out there. And to go back to what you said about a subscription model for hardware, I mean, Sony won't ever do that because retailers do that. I mean, you can go through Amazon for a payment plan for 12 months. You can go through Best Buy for a payment plan for 12 months. The options are there for those that can't afford like dropping it all day one. Um, that's not really the point because now we're just like say now we're just talking. What you're talking about is like a cell phone plan for headsets, and that doesn't work, in my opinion, just because of what you're getting out of it. You just what you want is to go to Visions and go on a 12-month plan, and anyone can do that. That's not really the issue. The issue is just the fact that it's like I said.
It's more than that for me, actually. I don't necessarily think it would work for the VR headset. I think that would be something you just have to eat. But my plan idea is more for consoles, in the idea that like every 3 years, kind of the idea is that
Oh, I
every
see what
three
you're
years
saying.
you would re-up, and you're like, yep, I'd like to continue to play my plan, and they're like, okay, great, your PS5 Pro's in the mail now.
Well, by the time your plan idea comes into effect, everyone will have game streaming down. We'll be streaming VR to our headsets, so it's not going to matter. Everyone will just have the same
Well, I
box.
and well, but yeah, you're not wrong, but I feel like for at least definitely this generation and probably one more generation, I think uh we're gonna have boxes, because worldwide internet is just not going to be there, to be able to fill that gap, for latency, and the whole thing's just a giant a giant miss right now. It's not going to happen on the mass. Um, and sorry, I'm reading the chat at the exact same time that we're talking here, but I just I'm just saying a plan like that to ease the barrier to entry into getting a console, maybe. I mean, I'm surprised we haven't seen as a bundle for a console and a headset,
Yeah, I
which
thought for sure we'd have one of those too. I thought for sure,
which
but I guess keeping it separate would also, I guess, keeps the price separate because having that price tag of like $1,200 on a shelf, I guess would make it real as opposed to having to do the
they
math
don't
on
want to
that.
connect the dots. Yeah, that's it's true. I think that, like, going with my theory around the fact that this is a soft launch, and that holiday 2023 is going to be Sony's real, like, where they get a little bit more heavy on the push and promotion. I wouldn't be surprised to see a bundle there. I mean, if especially if everybody just keeps doing the math anyways, Like, but the fact that there is no bundle
We never
could
saw
also
a PSVR 1 bundle. I mean, that never happened either. It was always separate. They just gave us more games, right? They were like the biggest bundles we ever
yeah,
had was
you're right. You're right. They
right.
never bundled it with a console.
Nope.
Yep.
I was
Yep.
just
They just
like
bundled
the
games,
best bundle they had was like that Epic bundle, whatever it was called. That had the 5 games. Uh,
and they bundled it with an aim for a while there.
did they?
Yeah, they did. I think it might have
No,
been an
they
in-store thing. It might have been an in-store bundle, but it was bundled.
maybe because yeah, Farpoint got
GameStop
the
was definitely
bundle.
bundling it.
Firewall got the AIM bundle. I think Bravo Team got the AIM bundle. I don't recall it ever seeing it in the box, but I mean, it could be
I
in
wasn't in
combination,
the
sure.
box. It was
Yeah.
never. That's what I'm saying. It was a combo thing. But regardless, um, I mean, I'll disagree pretty heavily there with Shades of Grey. That PSVR 2 couldn't last 7 years. Um, I mean, okay, could it run 7 years? Yes. It really shouldn't though. Like, look at the PSVR. You just said, look at like you said that like look at what the PSVR 1 can't run. I would say that at its launch, would you like to know how many right off the top of my head how many games the PSVR 1 can't run? Like even when it launched, PC games it can't launch. It can't run. There's all like and the PS like and it's not there's a difference, so we got to be careful. We're talking about the PS like 4 and PS5 versus the PSVR 1 and PSVR 2. Very different here. Like, do I think that the PSVR 2 current or from what we know right now is going to have longer legs in it with analog sticks and a better resolution display and more updated tracking and stuff? Like, I feel like it's not like the PSVR 1 is outdated right from the hop.
Yeah. No, PSVR
Whereas
2 as of launch is ahead of the game. It has things that no other headset has. It's the new leader in premium average consumer VR. I'm trying to think of a term for that because it's not the elite VR, but it's definitely like I said, it's got things that no other headset has. I mean, I guess the pros and stuff do have the eye tracking and whatnot, but they just don't have the power to back them up. So, yeah, and I just wanted to quickly put this bookmark in there too. I forgot it was to talk about not just the headset, which you get the headset, the controllers, and then if you need a camera or whatever the heck to track, that's fine. But peripherals, we talked about the aim controller and stuff as well. But as far as the cost to entry, you start talking about gun stocks or wheels, or this is much more of a conversation in line with just like regular gaming. But I think those peripherals are much more important in VR when it comes to immersion. Like we're having a wheel to play GT7 out of VR. All right, it's cool, it's fine, whatever. But having a wheel to play GT7 in VR is kind of a game changer. And so there's kind of like additional levels to like how much money you want to spend to make your VR the best VR. Haptic vests, everything else. I mean, that's as a guy who's pretty cheap. I'm stoked there's haptics in the headset, and I know it's just a basic rumble feature. Like I know it's not nothing crazy. I'm pumped because I get my haptics without having to pay for like a $300 vest or whatever the heck it is, right?
I still think that if unless we see PSVR 2 like Sony just getting a ton of like really high quality games coming to them that and the trend continues of just ignoring PC, which would be really shitty to see. But like if they just continue to look at PC as just a place that is like the last place they go because there's just no money to be made there. Um, unless that does happen, where PC VR guys are like, I guess I gotta get a PS5 now. Like if I want to play, the games that I want to see, they're not
Mm-hmm.
coming over now. Right now that's starting to sting already. But if that continues and they start to become not just questy looking games, but like also like very like like more Call of the Mountain type experiences, and GT7 and those just keep starting to come on the PS5, and the PC continues to just like get like leftovers and scaled up versions or not at all. Like we saw Meta just starting to ignore it with like Res 7 and the Climb 2 or Res 4, the Climb 2, and they're just just screw you PC. We just don't care. We're just we want to push our headsets. Where I'm going with this is that unless that happens, which I think that we're more likely to see PC get some of the same games along with the PS VR2, hopefully. Um, PC is always going to be that place where the VR people can go, like where the real enthusiasts go. Not to knock saying if you only own a Quest or you only own a PSVR 2, you're not a VR enthusiast. But it is next level like commitment. And like I mean like I'm talking like, haptics, full body tracking, like full racing rigs, because I'm as someone who has a racing rig, you can still only do so much with a console. You're still like I have butt kickers. Um you can literally only run them off your speakers. Then you got to just pull the low end off of a sub. Whereas on PC, I've got like the full analytics. It's like sending vibrations to the butt kickers based on what's actually happening in the physics engine, not out of the subs or the speakers. Like PC is where all the hardcore VR nerds are going to go
Hmm.
because so I'm less concerned about the PSVR 2 crowd getting haptics and racing, all the racing peripherals and all the fun stuff because that's not that market. That's not that crowd. Although it could be if the PC crowd's forced over to console because it's the only place VR is going.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm really going with that, but it's just I feel like there's this upper echelon. Like for example, if you're a sim racer, you're not. I mean, GT7's gonna. You're like, oh, I want to play it, but you're not gonna care because you've got a set of course and you've got iRacing and you've got Project Cars and you've got Automobilista 2 and it's like you're good. You're good on PC and you've got your whole racing rig and nothing's gonna drag you down there. So it just that's like there that master race thing is always gonna be a thing. But I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that. Now I'm just like
Well, it's kind of because I'm trying to avoid talking about, but I keep circling around the fact that like the barrier to entry here really is the hardware. And it is. I mean, whether you go for the Quest, PSVR, or any of the PC headsets that are currently out there, I mean, the Valve Index is still a fortune. It's that initial barrier is a big barrier, but I think currently, and it is currently, I said before, like the games are cheap, especially now because even like most of the best games, even on PC, they're on sale every week because there hasn't been a new PC launch, a big PC launch for 2 or 3 years now. The last one we got was Lone Echo, and there's been I can't think of. I guess Hubris would I guess count towards that. It's somewhat.
F122.
F1. Thank you very much. And we pulled out
You mean
like what?
PC only?
Yeah, I mean, as far as AAA VR goes, there's been nothing. I mean, you can't say anything AAA has come out on the Quest. Red Matter 2 is close. Moss, but those are
Kayak.
still Kayak.
Kayak, yeah.
That's not Quest
These are
though.
not these are not AAA games.
And Kayak also is
They may have some AAA visuals.
for sure. And I was just gonna say, but all these Hubris was $40, I believe. Kayak VR was $30, I believe. And F1, I think, would be the full price one there at $80. But we're talking about 3 games in the last year and a half, 2 years. Like it just like the market just isn't there. That and my point being is that once you get past that initial barrier, whether you're playing on any headset, I mean, Sony has sales every other day of the week, and we're seeing more and more games come out with that cross compatibility where they're either free or have a cheap upgrade. Like you make your money back, I guess, in regards to what you lose in the hardware, you can kind of save on the software. They just announced what yesterday, Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Part One, which was a free PS Plus game for PlayStation owners, is getting a free PS5 upgrade. So like you got the game for free, and then you're getting the free upgrade on top of it if you were obviously in that window. Vacation Simulator. We cried foul that we didn't give two shits about those games coming to PSVR 2. But they said afterwards, yeah, those games are free upgrades. So like, if you can find these things for cheap, and these games are older games now. These games are on sale all the time on PSVR for the PS4, and Quest has sales all the time. They're constantly giving out those Oculus 30 codes. PC Steam sales are just ridiculous. So I think there is a balance to that where you can kind of justify. You can justify. I can justify a PSVR 2 for the average person almost every day now, because almost every day now another game is free or another game is coming at a huge discount that almost next to free. And my PSVR 2 library seems to be growing every day, and that's not because I'm buying games, and that is a good thing. It's just a stuck in the past thing, I guess, in some ways, but that doesn't really change the fact that, especially me and you are enthusiasts. Me and you played everything, but I'm sure most of the people out there watching this probably haven't played as much VR games as we have.
Well, this kind of brings us back to the beginning where I said that, like, not hating on it, because if you're getting a PSVR 2 and you haven't had a Quest, the amount of VR experiences. I'm using that like to cover everything, not games. Um, there's so much fun, quality, amazing game. Like it is, you are going to be so swamped with amazing VR experiences. It is like people are like, oh my god, like it is such an amazing launch. To those people, it is, and
Yeah.
especially, or if you're new to VR and you're looking at it and you're, oh my god, there's so much amazing there. I mean, you might have to get past some of the visuals to realize how good some of those games are going to be, like because they're not going to blow you away just visually. But and so it is a great launch. It's not that exciting if you're trying to if someone has had a Quest 2 and they've played a bunch of stuff and they've had a PSVR and they've played a bunch of those games, you know, there's it that is the issue. And I think you cannot get away from talking about price and value without it being like it has to be Sony's job to make it so that it becomes way less of an issue,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And and I mean and then it's the age old question of, oh, I want to see this series in VR and that series in VR. And it's like, and in some ways I get like so tired of seeing the same conversations coming up of people just like wish listing like, oh my god, Sony bought Bungie. I hope we get Destiny 2 in VR. Yeah, who doesn't hope you get Destiny 2 in VR? Are you gonna get Destiny 2 in VR? Probably fucking not. Like, I mean, it's just like I don't think that's why they bought Bungie, and that's not what they're gonna have Bungie spending their time on. I hate this. It's just, I mean, hopefully, I hope I'm surprised. I hope they get a hybrid game, but
Well, no,
they're
no,
not.
no. GT mentioned earlier. I was going to bring it up too, but remember when hybrid games was like a thing Sony
Yeah,
was talking about? Remember that? And now it's like, nope. Like we're there's nothing. And honestly, if I were to do one last surprise from Sony before PSVR 2 would be like an announcement of a hybrid game. And but that to me is more of like a wishful thinking than an actual guess because they've gone so silent, and the fact that no trip or no first party Sony developer has been like, oh yeah, and by the way, guys, we're working on Ratchet and Clank in VR. Like,
okay. Technically, Res 8 and No Man's Sky would be
not
considered
first
hybrid.
party Sony, not first party Sony
Not
is what I'm
first
talking
party.
about.
Not
And
first,
that's
no,
what
not
they said their hybrid thing was. And and not to say they weren't going to push other developers for that, but um, I don't I don't consider those to be part of Sony's plan. I think Sony's lucky to have gotten them, but I don't think that as far as their hybrid games that they mentioned, I don't think those were like that wasn't what they were talking about. If that's what they're talking about, then shame on you, Sony. Shame on you for making up hybrid gaming when you're talking about two games, like GT7 as well, I guess. But it doesn't count in regards to I guess public perception. Public perception. We want Uncharted, we want Last of Us, we want God of War, Ratchet and Clank. We want these first person, even like like something Killzone or something along those lines. Like they're people are looking for a first person or a first party PlayStation franchise to come to VR to not just bring it to us, but to show that Sony cares about it. And that's I see that all the time. Is like not to say Sony doesn't care, but if Sony was, really wanted to show they cared, they would have like God of War in VR. They would have these things in VR. And it's a ridiculous statement. You can't just hit the VR patch on Last of Us 2 and suddenly it's a VR game. There's development that has to go into this. But that being said, as much as I'm not saying it shouldn't happen. If it did happen, I would be all aboard that train. And woo woo, yeah,
Well,
Killzone,
right
baby.
now, well, yeah, but right now until we see more proof of like how much eye tracking the dynamic foveated rendering actually, how much of a difference that actually makes for like saving processing power. This idea of being able to play some of these games and do them just, yeah, let's have some hybrid versions of those, is just us speculating.
Yeah,
Totally. Thanks, Salvador. That's awesome, man. That's
Salvador.
gonna Yeah, it's gonna help us. That's 250 each, buddy. That's going towards the PSVR too. Um, and damn it. Oh, I was gonna say, I think I brought this up in another episode, but if I didn't, it might have just been you and I talking. But ACG did a video about the PSVR 2, and he wasn't overly hyped about it. He was thought it had some promising stuff, and one of the things he mentioned was Sony, like if they really want to like make this a go, then they've got to take some of those dormant IPs, like you said, Killzone would be is such a no-brainer,
Dude,
especially when you
SOCOM.
see it.
Do
Especially,
SOCOM in VR,
oh
man.
yeah, but
See,
at
there
least
you go. You automatically got wet. See, that's what I'm looking
yeah,
for.
but the developer that did SOCOM, um, I don't know what shape they're in. But they're not doing SOCOM stuff anymore. But like Guerrilla Games is still together. You could at least that the studio is still around, even if they didn't do it, they could like lease it out. Firesprite go do a Guerrilla game next, you know.
Hmm.
Um, but what I'm saying is that he was saying like Resistance, Killzone, some of these dormant IPs, SOCOM, obviously. There's a bunch of them. Um, do a sequel to that, like basically Half-Life Alex it. You
Yeah.
got to do you got to do a new game in the entry that's VR only. And he's like, Sony's ballsy enough to do it. Like if any studio was gonna, if any company was gonna do it, it would be Sony because they're willing to do some things knowing they're not gonna make mad money on like that specific thing in order to try to like grow something. Microsoft like, no, no, no. We got to see the dollar bills or we're not even going to bother with it. Sony would do it. Sony's done it multiple times. The PSVR and the PSVR 2 are probably the perfect examples of Sony being willing to spend money without the promise of return on that investment right off the hop. So I think we need to see some ballsiness like that from Sony, in order to like almost force people to like take it seriously.
I
But
mean, you just basically described Horizon, as funny as that sounds, in regards to bringing their AAA franchise
it
to
is,
VR has
it
been,
is,
yeah.
it is. But the problem is that I feel like there's what I'm seeing in Horizon right now, and this is what I think that we've talked about many times. I'm seeing in all the footage we've seen, and in some of the comments that people have played it. Like I think GT's played it. He can't really talk about it probably too much, but like all I see is compromises. It looks amazing. It looks amazing, but all I see is gameplay compromises. I see an amazing show title for people to get their mind blown for what the PSVR 2 and the PS5 can do visually. I don't see it being such an amazing Horizon game that people who love the series have to play it.
No, and I don't want
It's
to go down this road. We've been down this road before, so I don't want to.
whereas Half-Life Alex,
Yeah.
I mean, even though I don't think it's as good as Half-Life 1 and 2, it's not of the
There
same
you.
caliber.
Yep.
It had
Yep.
people selling their freaking kids to get an index.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of, now we're like kind of really off topic, but we haven't. I guess we haven't seen that yet for Sony. Um, I mean, I don't know. As far as the topic goes, are we just done with the topic at this point?
No, 'cause now I wanna get into game pricing.
Okay, okay. Then I need to get back on course here. I'm off course.
Okay, so let me set the table with the thought I had. Because I've been thinking about game
Hold
pricing. We've
on.
talked
Meow meow the gamer cat. Call the mountain is for noobs. For some reason I found that very amusing. You may continue, Chris. I apologize.
totally noob friendly. It is. It's the reason it's the pack-in game, right? It's the show title. It's here's a game that you can put somebody into with like and it's gonna like little I hate to say this, but I don't think it's gonna be this handholdy, but I do when I see Call the Mountain, I do get some vibes of uh oh shoot now why is my blood and truth. It's not doesn't look that handholdy. Obviously you can there's some free movement, but I think it's going to be very narrative heavy, very experience heavy. It's going to be a mind blowing thing, but it's not going to be something where you're just going to sit there and just like get lost in the deep gameplay and like these and amazing upgrade trees. And it's just not going to be that game. I hope I'm wrong, but I really don't think I
Okay,
am.
come back to software. Come back. I don't
But I
want to talk
want to
about
go back.
Horizon.
Now we've talked about this in the past though with software. Um, Around this weird disconnect in the VR community, I think, around like pricing and games and it's just expecting things to be cheap. Like not wanting to go down this conversation again of Grid Legends. But I saw I saw so many comments in the video that we did around whether it deserved the hate. And so many people are like, "Man, it's a full price game. This is bullshit." I'm like, "What? Really? It's like 25 American. Um, it's cheaper on Steam, but on the PSVR store, for example, it's still a full price title. Like, and I mean like it's somewhere between like 70 and $90 Canadian. Okay, so do what you want with that, Americans. But that's a full. It's basically half price. It's
free on
half price.
free on Games Pass.
It's half. But okay, well, you know what? That's another problem,
Or
or
free, I
another.
guess. Sorry, free in quotes.
Yes, but subscription models and game subscriptions, with like and getting into like the whole conversation with Spotify and Netflix. That's another problem, I think, as far as like somehow kind of like setting this weird entitled precedent of we should get everything for like nothing because because me because me because I should and and there is a disconnect, I think, around what people are willing to spend on a VR game, whether and versus what they're willing to spend on a flat game. And I think so. This is what I was thinking about it. I was like, what? And I put this to chat. I'd love to hear you guys comment on this as well. And I think it comes down to what is your entertainment dollar amount, I guess. Let me preface this by the fact that when physical media was much more of a thing, you know, a CD was say $12 to $15.
Back
Right?
in
Say,
my day.
okay, but I'm just saying it's $12 to $15. And what's a CD? Let's just say for example, let's just say for lack of argument's sake, it was an hour. So it's an hour of music if you only listen to it once. But let's just say you listen to it once, you paid your $12 to $15. Let's say $12 works better for my math. So $12 you get an hour of entertainment out of that CD. Maybe you go, this is crap, you never listen to it again. Okay. Then you bought a DVD or a Blu-ray. So let's just say it's twice that, $25. It's 2 hours long. Okay, so if we go by that rule of thought, then that 12, let's say $12 an hour is what we're value as entertainment. If you were to buy something and get it, considering that you don't listen to it again, you don't watch it again, it's $12. Video gaming kind of took that same idea too. Still to this day, it follows that rule of thumb of the CD, the movie, and then the game. And it's like, okay, so it's an 8 to 10 hour game. So now it's like it's like 4 movies, 3 movies. I'm just saying that's $12 per hour of entertainment, still kind of that kind of works out. Then everything got fucked right up with the streaming services and what people thought they should get now. And
Oh,
I feel like
I agree with this 100%. I mean, like I said, when I was doing my reviews on my old channel, I always ended up saying, like, what would I pay? And one of the things I factored into that was basically was a $10 per hour like entertainment value. So basically, if a game was 4 hours long and I was entertained the whole time, and it was $40, like that to me, like, was it worth it? And that's kind of how I based my math because I had to apply something to it. And obviously, you see guys like your GTA. Like I've put 500 hours in GTA. I wouldn't pay more than I'm not paying $120 for a GTA game. If the next GTA 7 is like $100, I'm not paying that. And it's like, man, but you're gonna sink like 200 hours into this thing. Where's your dollar value? Like your content value. So I totally agree with that. I'm not saying that like my $10 per hour that's not like an exact science number or nothing like that, but it is something I think about lots in regards, especially VR, but just because VR games are so short. I think to myself, I just played Silhouette for 3 hours and I had fun doing it. If I wasn't fighting the hand tracking, it's a $10 game. So I actually was like, this is a really fair, awesome price for this little tiny indie game. I was pleasantly happy with that. And then you go to something like Grid Legends, which is what, $40 for like the messy
VR or flat.
the VR version. We're talking about VR.
$25.
Oh, it's $25. So I
It
mean,
was like 30 Canadian. Like it was cheap. And this is one of the things I said in my Does It Deserve the Hate? I'm like, getting away from all of that conversation really is just the fact that the whole game was there and it was like it played pretty much the same way as the core game. Again, getting away whether the game's even that good. But the fact is that exact same game, like they literally half the price of it. Just almost for the visuals basically, but you also got to be inside the car, so you got that VR stuff. Again, don't want to tread into that water because it's obviously a bit like divisive, but like I want Falcon XL 911. I hate to just single you out there, but you said I would pay 49. I would pay $49 for a AAA Uncharted God of War Killzone VR game.
You're waiting for a sale, bud.
Now I don't know where you live, But I hope it's not the US or Canada. Because like in Canada, uh if if a AAA game came out, it's $90.
$90.
It's 80 in American, I think, right?
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's I
yeah.
think it's
That's the rough
$79,
price. Yep.
right? No, you're going I would pay. Okay, well, you wouldn't be playing those games then. Because an Uncharted or a God of War or a Killzone game, if they just go to VR and they're full games, not this Call of the Mountain thing, but they're actually like full versions of like those games are new full VR games, you're paying full price and you should pay full price. Like, I mean, a sale price, fine, you wait, whatever. That's I'm
Yeah.
just saying. But the amount of money that goes into making those AAA games, like the budgets of theirs, I looked into it. Do you know what Horizon? Fuck, I'm gonna screw these numbers up now, but I looked at the budget between Horizon. The budget doubled basically.
Yeah, no. Well, you're looking that up. Like the price of the price of gaming has amazed me in the last even 20 years. I mean, you go back to the Super Nintendo games or days, and those discs were still $80 to buy, or those cartridges rather. Sorry, and the price of gaming, as far as consumers goes, hasn't really gone up a lot. I mean, even the fact like this last generation to go up like the $10 from 70 to $80 US for premium games, people were crying foul, man. Like people were like not happy with that $10 increase. When it's like, I'm not saying like every game isn't the same, but if Elder Scrolls came out, Elder Scrolls 6 came out, I know I'll spend 300-400 hours in that game. And let's say it came out and they're like, you know what, guys, screw it, it's $150 for this game. Like that's like double what the current rate goes. But the games cost so much now. Like games cost more now to develop than they ever have before. AAA games rather, and it's insane that we haven't seen the price go up. Like, I mean, my groceries in the last 2 years went up 40%. My groceries went up 40% in the last 2 years. But apparently, the gaming development, no, it's just that stays the same, and it's not true at all, man. These teams are only getting larger and larger and larger. These teams are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Expectations are getting larger and larger and larger, and the price still stays the same. It's absolutely mind-boggling that this industry, as far as pricing goes, has almost become stagnant. I'm not complaining. I don't want games prices to go up, but I could totally see why they could, I guess. Did you find what you're talking about?
I did. So, I mean, just some food for thought, guys, to throw in this conversation. Horizon Forbidden West cost 160 million Canadian to make. Okay, so let's just say we got that's probably on par with your Uncharted games, and if they made a new Killzone game, I mean, that's what you're looking. You're looking at over 100 million, over $100 million to make a game. Um, Now, again, like I don't know. I mean, obviously they're making money on these games, but yeah, I like and it's just like I think there's an entitlement that like now if you would only spend $49 on a AAA game coming to VR, then that's I mean that's totally up to you, right? But like Ryan said, you're not going to get it until it's on sale. You're just not. And I guess what I'm saying is I feel like it's worth a full price. And I say full price, I mean a full price game.
Yeah.
Um, and games are cheaper now, like to what you said, cheaper than they've ever been
Yep.
by a large amount. Like if you go back and you see what the price of a game cart was, but back in like the days of even like Atari or even Nintendo, and then you were to like add inflation to that, you'd be paying like I can't remember the dollar amount, so don't quote me on this, but you'd be paying over $200, I think, for some of these games.
Oh yeah.
Games now, obviously, volume of games being sold, it's a different industry than it was back then. But like you're right, game prices haven't jumped much, and I go back to my original statement of what's your entertainment dollar? Like what like per hour of entertainment, and it's like I feel it's
Well,
really skewed right now.
that's where gaming is different than every other medium on the planet because movies are typically 2 to 3 hours. Very rarely are they outside of that, or I shouldn't say 2 3 hours, like 1.5 to 3 hours, I guess. And very rarely are they outside of that window. CDs, music, same thing. Even though music isn't really like you don't really buy albums anymore, but same thing, like an hour per CD. There's kind of a set amount. Whereas gaming is all over the map. There's 6 hour games, 8 hour games, 20 hour games, 50 hour games, like 100 hour games, and yet they're all still judged by the same price point. If it's AAA, it's $90 or $80. That's just it, and it really shouldn't be. And I'm not saying they should be like $150. Well, I mean, I'm saying technically they should be, and they're not. But we still judge them all by that same, like, they should all be this same price for this type of game, and it's not. It's just it's not the way that gaming is. It's so weird to like put a price point on these things. 'Cause like I said, like if Elder Scrolls came out for like Elder Scrolls 6, it's awesome, it's amazing, it's beautiful, it plays exactly like how I want it to. It's the perfect sequel. It's $160 because you know what? You're gonna sink 200 hours in this thing. It's gonna suck up your life. We know it is. We put this thing cost us $300 million to develop. Screw you guys. This is what it costs. I'd probably pay it, knowing full well what I was getting. I wouldn't just willy nilly dive in, but I can totally justify that in some cases. On the same token, you can totally see where smaller games or shorter games should be less than that. It's just I'm not arguing either side. I'm just saying there's arguments for like either side. It's weird that gaming is judged by all the same things when gaming is not the same beast at all when it comes to like consumable medium. Huh.
Yep. Well, I mean, Shades of Grey Matter brings up a good. I mean, this is the obvious uh, point that has to go alongside with any conversation is that we're just like we're in a recession, a global recession, and
That's why
everything's
I'm
gone up.
working out of town right now, guys.
Everything's gone up. Everything's gone up in price, and except and wages haven't kept up with that, obviously. Um, and I think I go back to what GT said, though. I think he summed it up pretty well in the fact that like this is a hobby. Like gaming is a hobby. It's a passion. It's something I absolutely love. It's where I spend a lot of my free time, a lot of my energy, not just with the channel, but just like I'm definitely a gamer, and to me, I prioritize a lot of my time and money towards that. And I think that that's really what it comes down to. Again, you can't tell somebody like what something values to them.
Hmm.
My point about your value, your entertainment dollar, I think is just something to keep in mind. I think for some of us when we start like getting like all like meh, about things, it's kind of like just like keeping it in perspective. Which I said like streaming services really screwed us with that. Like as much as I think Game Pass is sweet, I also think Game Pass is devaluing the entire industry, and it starts to set again. It becomes that race to the bottom where I think like people start to not realize how much money and people and their wages were involved in making some of these games, and they
Hmm.
just think they should just get access to it for their $8 a month or something. I as much as I totally want everything for nothing, I also like try to take a step back and like realize that, right? Um, you know, um, I've spent, I guess it just again, it's like if you don't have the money, if you just don't have the money, then I guess it's like it's kind of a non-starter. All you can do is sit there and just be pissed that you can't play things. But I still feel like I don't know. My biggest problem really when we comes down to game prices is you could talk all day with someone about like how much they value like their entertainment dollar. But really when it comes down to is I just feel like there is this weird this double standard of what people think a VR game they'll pay for versus what they'll pay. Like literally Uncharted VR could come out and people will be like, "Meh, $40. That's all I'm paying for it."
Oh
And
yeah.
then like the same freaking game comes out in flat. They're like $80 pre-order. I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
VR, and this goes back to the whole Quest kind of like changing the market as well. But like I said, the average price of a VR game is $25, and I've seen so many guys who are like even at that point, I'll wait for a sale. Like I'll wait, and it's weird. Like like in so many ways, we're lucky the prices are low, but on the same token, it's set a really weird precedent for gaming prices. Where, like you said, like Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners comes out at $40, and people are just like, well, it's not, it's the same engine as the first game, and it's only like a continuation of the story. It's not like a true sequel, so how come it's the same price? Like, there's like, these weird arguments for it's like, dude, you're gonna spend 10 hours in this game, for $40. That's like friggin' what was that, like $8 an hour or something like that? Like and that's like bare minimum, like just playing through the campaign. It's like you said, it's value for your dollar, and to everyone it's different, but you're not wrong in the fact that like outside looking in, just looking in forums, Reddit, forums and social platforms, the second a game hits like over $30, VR consumers get very wary very quick, and it's weird to see just how wary they get. How's chat going?
Yeah.
Good.
Sorry, I was listening to you, thinking about what you were saying, and reading chat at the same time. Shout out to Triangular. Thanks for the super chat, man. We really appreciate the super chats. And yeah, I mean, competition is great for VR. That's what Triangular was saying. That he said that competition is great for VR and innovation. Um, that's, I mean, this is one of the biggest things that is great right now with the PSVR 2 coming out, is that I think
It's a competition. Oh yeah, totally.
Meta
Totally.
Meta needs someone to push them to stop just like putting out the same stuff. I mean, obviously we're going to see a Quest 3 and sooner than like probably by the end of the year, and I don't think it's going to change the conversation that much. I'll be honest with you. I think it's going to be an improvement. I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be a whole generation jump.
We know that. I mean, we know the power of the chips out there. So
I
unless
think,
Meta has
yeah,
invented like new chip technology, they're still limited by the current chips that's available, and the current chipsets available aren't that much more powerful. Or mobile chipsets available just aren't that more. You can only fit so much in the headsets, and what's available just isn't that much better. So the Quest 3, well, I'm sure it'll be even more optimized and do the eye tracking, everything else, foveated rendering,
that's
all
the
that
thing.
jazz. For sure,
It's going to be
it's
more efficient. Yeah.
100%. But like I said, as far as that line goes, it won't be. I'll be shocked if it's even close to PS5. Other than the fact that the industry is still making games for the Quest, I talked to developers who said like getting VR games made now that aren't made for mobile devices is tough because publishers don't want to make those games. They want games they know will sell on proven platforms. The PSVR 2 is not a proven platform yet. The Quest 2 is. And so there's already like even if a developer wants to make like a premium AAA game to get funding for that game, they don't get to make that game because they have to make it for the Quest 2. And this is a conversation I've had with two developers now. I won't name them or their games, but it's this is the fact that basically the developers are like, I'm gonna make this kick-ass game, and the publishers is like, no, no, you're not, because it's got to work on that thing. And these companies, unless they have coffers that they can just afford to take a hit for the next year or two and pay their employees out of pocket until they reap the benefits of a sold game, have to then dumb down their game for the Quest platform just to make ends meet so they can build their next game. And maybe the next game, hopefully, they can build for a bigger headset because it'll be proven. So it's, I don't even remember what started that point, other than the fact that we are in this weird point right now where the Quest has changed the entire market. It's
No,
weird.
and I mean, no, but you're right though, and then it's something that I think that we have to keep in mind when we look at the PSVR 2, is that there are going to be some developers that are like, I want to see if I can make a killing on that headset, because I think that's the future of accessible, VR to the masses, but with like, a, a high end VR spin. Like I could see some developers going, we're going to risk on that one. But right now, it's still a lot of developers are going and looking at that, going, you know what, even if it sells as much as the PSVR 1, that's not exciting to us.
Oh, I
And I
totally
think
get that.
that really, and I think and I hate to say it, but that might be a bit of kind of a sobering thought for some people, just to just keep in mind that like, even if it sells as much as a PSVR 1 did its entire lifetime, that's not exciting for some developers.
No,
At
and
least not enough to go PSVR 2 only. And so we're still in a situation where Sony's going to have to pony up some real money and
mhm.
probably take some losses again, and which they've probably committed to. I mean, Call the Mountain is probably an example of that already. Even possibly even the VR work on Res 8.
Yeah, it's all recycled assets. It should be a $30 game.
Yeah, no shit, hey. But you know what? I mean, look, one of the things that Ryan and I have talked about wanting to have onto the show, and I think that I'd really like to make that a priority here, is getting a developer or two on here to talk to us about what really goes into taking a game and either taking a flat game and making it VR, making a VR game from scratch, or even just porting a game between different headsets and what's
So
really involved.
developers, if you're listening and you want to talk to us and aren't under embargo, we'd love to talk to you about
Well, and
behind the
we've got a
scenes.
couple in mind as well, but yeah, definitely hit us up if you're watching this and you're interested in participating in
The
that
only
conversation.
guy I know that will talk openly would be Blair. I don't think he's coming on the show.
He
F
just hate.
Sony, F Facebook. Actually, he does. He's never said F Sony, but
But my point is that I think that for all of us, including you and I, it would be nice to get a much more informed idea of what really goes into um, making VR games, importing VR games, and kind of. I mean, we do have you and I from conversations behind the scenes have a pretty good idea of what some developers are thinking, and what some publishers are thinking around where they can make money. I mean, we've seen it with just the, that focus on the quest only. Um,
Salvador, thank you again.
yes, thank you, man. Appreciate you very much. Um, yeah, I don't know. We're in just this weird place of uncertainty
It's
as
like the
well.
it feels like the eye of a hurricane, and I don't know where it's gonna take us. Like it's like the calm before some kind of storm, and I don't know if it's just gonna go like, oh shit, the Quest 3 takes over, blows PSVR 2 out of the water, whap whap, or PSVR 2, suddenly starts gaining traction, gaining the attention, and the road back to AAA VR starts February 21st. Like we just don't know. Like, I want to believe that's gonna happen, but we don't know. It's the weirdest time, and VR is a tech that seems to be judged more than any other tech in regards to like its validity when it comes to like the average consumer. Like VR is still up in question. Like even now, I'm seeing articles about sickness and stuff coming. Sim sickness and talking about
Oh
all this
God.
stuff again. Sorry, the articles are all motion sickness, which it's not motion. You're not moving. How can it be motion sickness? But I digress. But it's happening again, and we're starting to see this influx of I can see it. I can see like February 22nd, 23rd. I can see it. PSVR is a failure. PSVR, like I already see the doom and gloom articles happening because of XYZ, because it has no games, or because it's just ports, or
Oh
because
no,
of
you know what
whatever.
it's going to be. PSVR 2 is an amazing step forward, but it still makes me sick.
Something like that.
Wham!
Mm-hmm.
From IGN. Um, but yeah, I think we're going to see that. Although early reports from all the any tech sites that have played with a PSVR 2 at the shows have all been very
Yep.
positive. Though we have they are definitely have their kids gloves on in what they're letting people do in say like Call of the Mountain. Not do, but like comfort, like they weren't allowed
Well,
salutes or no. It
that
wasn't ready. It wasn't
we yeah,
ready.
the whole story there with Bradley is hilarious.
But even before Bradley, the fact that they didn't even want they wanted click turning only. That's what they wanted, either click turning or moving their own body. Like they're still being very careful that they're curating the experiences that people are getting so far. And I tell you, oh my god, if I see IGN or GameSpot start putting out their coverage and they have click turning on there on the videos that they're showing off, I'm gonna lose my freaking mind because that's not how you show a VR title. It doesn't look good to anyone. Anyways, I digress. I'm the one ranting now, but bringing things to a bit of a close because we are coming up on the 90-minute mark here. Um, Going back to kind of bringing things full circle with this could go for games and hardware. But this is a conversation that I think you and I had on the phone the other day, and you brought up a point about the fact that the concerning thing right now with the both the PSVR 2, and you didn't mention this, but even the Quest as a platform, let's say whether it be Quest 3 or Quest 2, is that right now, and Sony is the I think the one that we're really looking at. There's not really the promise of anything really exciting coming down the road. Like, like the PSVR 2, for example. I remember when we got the PSVR 1, we were saying, you and I were talking on the phone, like, when we got the box, it was like Gran Turismo, Ace Combat,
Resi
and
7, yeah, yeah,
yeah, like,
yeah.
and it was like, and now obviously we all know like that there was a lot like non-delivered promises there. It was like a bad politician on the box of the PSVR 1, but like, and Sony's probably trying to avoid that, but at the same time, when you get your PSVR 2 outside of the launch window, there's not really anything that we're all going to be like pumped for. There's nothing coming like fall of the end of the year. There's nothing to be like, oh my god, I'm pumped for this because of what's coming. And I think that and
I
the
wouldn't
and
say nothing, but there's nothing from Sony. I think is more to the point. I mean, there's stuff like say Green Hell VR was brought up in chat. There's a few other games on the list that are somewhat, they are enticing. Is
okay,
and
but
Flame of the
for the
Year,
most part, there's
but
not
not
really,
but not
yeah,
Sony. And I think that's the point you're making is like as
or
far
not on
as
that level either.
yeah,
Just on that level of games where there was like some promises being made for why you were dropping X number of dollars. And
yeah.
I mean, right now with the Quest 2, I mean, there's just not like where's Grand Theft Auto San Andreas that they talk about? It's
Shh,
gone.
shh, we don't talk about that. Nor do we talk about
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed either. But they're coming.
And I think they're going to be Quest 3 titles. I think they're being held back for Quest 3 titles. But the fact is, there's nothing being said. And even when the Quest 2 dropped, there was just no promise for what the year out was going to be. Look for
No,
any big ass games coming out. Never mind all these PC headsets out. Like, how many do they need to drop? Like, I mean, obviously, like, oh no, this is for the professional market, so it's not aimed at gamers. But like when Vive's bringing out their competition headset, like for what? Where's your Half Life? Where is your Call of the Mountain? At least Sony's got a launch. At least Sony's got a launch lineup. Like Sony's hitting the ground, they're crushing it with games. Whereas Oculus like brought in a Quest 2, and it's like, well, you can play your Quest 1 games.
and
Like
for you guys looking forward to Behemoth or Behemoth in chat, however you say it.
Behemoth.
I know. I was kind of just reading it phonetically here. Behemoth in the chat. That's also a Quest game. So like
Check
temper
your
expectations. Yeah,
expectations.
I mean it's supposed to be open world too. I'm reading descriptions of this game. I'm like, I don't know, but there's a lot of things in this description that don't make sense for it being a Quest game. Anyways, I mean I'm
Does it,
looking
okay,
forward to
on
it,
that,
but
does it not worry people though? Not to be the not to be the killjoy here, but does it not worry people like how hard they're pushing Behemoth? I see it in my
it's the
Facebook
same
feed
stupid trailer.
all
Like
the
I
time.
mean, it's a good
They're
trailer, but
pushing
like,
it, but it's nothing. It's a nothing trailer. There's it's not even
that
it's
trailer won awards at the trailers show or something. I'm not even joking.
okay. I mean, and it's a nice little teaser trailer, but it shows nothing of the gameplay. Like, I mean, there's nothing to get excited about other than they're like Viking, fun in VR. Like that's cool. I mean, it's coming from and they're going off of a lot of like earned trust and accolades from what Skydance did with the Walking Dead games. But I'm just saying, like people are phonetically spelling it out for you there, Ryan.
I caught it. I caught it.
Hey,
I already phonetically said it out loud, so
it's not Behemoth. Yeah, okay, question mark. There we go. Exactly. He's an idiot. But anyways, um, like I mean, just looking at chat, all these people, I would love this, I would love that. Even like, yeah, just tell us that there's an Astrobot 2 in the works. Just
oh, I
tell us
agree.
that.
I mean, we know. I mean,
Lie to us. You did it before. Just lie to us.
I mean, they
Tell us.
fired the whole
Tell us.
team and made it solely for Astrobot games. So not fired the whole team,
They
but
should just be like GT7. It only took us 7 years to deliver.
yeah. And I
And
agree.
that's why we called it GT7 because it took 7 years for us to actually give you the VR version we promised.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
still like Astrobot 2 is also it seems like a glaring omission, and I'm curious about how they think of Astrobot at Sony because they think of it as like as a Sony mascot or as like just a like I don't know how they think of Astro because
I
to,
think that the days of mascots are behind. I think that it would be awesome if Sony brought it back. Because really, I mean Sega and Sonic. I mean, first of all, Sega. What's Sega now? They're just a publishing house, and Sonic the Hedgehog has like been in like Nintendo games now. Like that doesn't mean anything. There's Mario, but Mario Mario was always a pretty stupid
You
mascot.
shut your mouth.
There's
You
a hot
shut
take, but
your
there's
mouth.
nothing cool about Mario.
What are you
Like
talking about?
as a Sega kid, Sonic was
He
always
fights
way
the
cooler than
dragon,
Mario.
gets the bitch. What are you talking about?
He doesn't even get it. He doesn't even get the bitch. He couldn't keep her. Bowser was just kind of like, "Wanna come touch my spikes?" She's gone. How many times did he have to bring her back? Anyways, I'm just saying he's just a little bitch. I
Right.
I just think there was something going on between Luigi and Mario. I don't know if they were really brothers. I'm just.
Well,
But
what
the
do you
days of
mean? They were
mascots.
delivered by Stork in Yoshi's Story. Like, come on, man.
Sorry, I'm not up on my Mario
Yeah,
lore.
yeah.
Yeah,
Check yourself.
doesn't make it cool. Wario was always way cooler.
Wario sucks. I'm a Wario. It's the worst. It's the most unimaginative idea on the planet. Stupid.
But the crooked mustache made him
Thank you
way
for
edgier.
describing it. Stupid Inspector Gadget villain.
Like
Awful.
Crash Bandicoot was
He was
only
awesome.
really, but he was only awesome because of the commercials.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then he got sold and the stopped being a Sony game, and then now he's just everywhere.
absolutely agree with Zelda. Overrated. Yeah, absolutely. Oh my god, don't even get me started. Breath of the Wild, the most empty open world ever. Anyways, we're gonna get off topic here.
We're
We
gonna.
are off topic, but Astrobot, I don't think they look at it as. I think that Astrobot seems to be huge. I think they're going. Sony's going hard on Astrobot. We know that they've taken the studio. It was a Japan studio, Asobi Games or
Asobi,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah,
Team
and like
Asobi.
that, all they're doing now is Astro. So
Supposed to be.
Is there an Astrobot VR game coming? I think that it'd be blown away if it wasn't. So lie to us. Tell us there's an Astrobot game coming
Give
sometime.
us that. Give us just the VR version of that last one we got, the free one with
Dude,
the PS5.
we were PSVR owners. As long as we get Astrobot within the next 7 years, we're good. Just tell us it's coming. Um, you know who Sony needs to pay the rights for? Gex. We need to bring Gex back.
Eh,
There was a mascot
I
that had
mean, I guess
attitude.
the rights would be cheap. Gex.
Panasonic's like, nope,
You ever,
maybe,
you
maybe
ever,
we're gonna come back with the 3DO2. You don't know.
you ever look up the Gex cartoon that aired, the one episode, like, wherever ago? It's terrible. They tried hard to make Gex cool. Gex sucked.
They tried too hard. You're right. He screams 90s, but
Oh, totally.
But at least he had like actual funny one-liners, not like.
Mario doesn't need one-liners. He has solid gameplay.
Oh, oh, that was. I can't even top that. I can't even top that. Um, yeah, tell us Hogwarts Legacy's in VR. Lie to us. That's
uh,
too. That's too recent. Like they need to put a lie out there that's like enough excitement and hope for us to like have absolutely zero buyer's remorse. But that's too soon. That's too soon. But Gex was Crystal Dynamics, I know, but Panasonic kind of like was like that's ours. We need a mascot. That's ours.
no, and then Sony took him, and then N64 got the Gex game too. He was all over the place.
You know what, Savage Gamer, you were so predictable. It's like it's either Destiny or it's Twisted Metal.
You
It's,
know, Twisted Metal would be nice.
you know what?
I would happily take that.
This sounds like another conversation, but Twisted Metal in VR, my knee jerk reaction is hell yeah. Yeah, I want that in VR. You know what? No, I don't actually. That would suck being stuck in a car in VR. Like if you were in the cockpit, which is what you'd be in VR most likely. You couldn't see anything. You'd just be like, and you'd look in the rearview mirror and you'd see like a burning clown face just completely annihilating you. Like if you're a big Twisted Metal guy,
You
I
could do
mean,
it. I have faith they could do it.
could you do it? I think a lot of people would want to be in third person. But if we want to talk, this is going back. Now we're going into like the Sony archive here. Single track games was who they made 3 games that were amazing: Twisted Metal, Warhawk, and Jet Moto. I think that both Jet Moto and Warhawk would both make better VR games, especially Warhawk, than I think Twisted Metal would make as a VR game. I just feel like that lack of
I
what's
get
the
it.
word
I
I'm
get
looking
it.
for? The peripherals and just being able to see yourself getting attacked, it would lose something. It would be awesome to see it in VR though. Maybe not play it in VR.
Shut up, Chris.
I like John Firewire. How about a Dire Straits song, VR game called Money for Nothing, where you have to make custom refrigerators, microwaves, and TV deliveries? It'd be like Paperboy Dire Straits edition.
Yeah, that's awful. Chris, I think we're winding this episode down.
Yeah, I feel like we're gonna have to have a topic on its own about PSVR one classics that need to. We should do that. We should do dormant PlayStation IPs that need to come into VR.
Sure, I'm down for that. I gotta look up all my IPs though, because I wasn't a Sony guy until PS4, so I only knew about the games I didn't play. Yeah, fuck Sony. That was me for many moons. I actually just hated the controllers. So
So Ryan basically he didn't. What he's saying is he didn't actually hit VR game maturity until what is it, 7, 8, 9 years ago? Your balls didn't drop.
no, I just didn't like the controllers. I've got big hands,
The
and those
PS3
controllers
controller.
feel tiny in my hands for the
Why I didn't
longest
play it?
time.
That's why I didn't like the PS3. I had one, but the R2 buttons slipped. Like when they clicked in, they actually like slid, and so your fingers wanted to fall off. Whereas if you look at like the PS4 ones now, right? They got like that little like a little scoopy thing in there, and Sony knew they were shit. That's why all your first person games, instead of using the trigger, the left trigger to zoom down the scopes, they then put it up to L1 because it was like your finger wouldn't slide off it. Anyways, Ryan,
We did
that's
it.
the end of
We did
episode
it.
70.
Yeah.
Guys,
Uh,
thanks for hanging out here. To the end of the episode, we definitely have to continue this conversation. I think in one way or another. But don't forget to hit that like button, guys. I really appreciate it if you could. That would be awesome. Subscribe if you haven't, but I'm sure you guys all have. Keep an eye on the channel. We've got some reviews coming your way.
Thank you
I'm
to
going to be
all of you who
covering.
joined us. I will say that.
Yeah,
And also to the super chats. We appreciate that as well. And to our Patreon subscribers who have been scrolling across the bottom of the screen the whole time. We love you guys as well. We love all of you. Except you, Blam
Savage Gamer.
Crotch,
No, Savage
Savage
Game.
Gamer.
Fuck that guy. We're at the end of the video now. YouTube's not watching. I can drop F bombs.
Mr. Egg Aimer. Mr. Egg Gamer, that guy.
Mr. A Gamer, yeah. Behemoth.
Look, I'm tired, man. Okay, leave me alone.
All right, say goodnight, Ryan.
Good night, Ryan.